So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for being here and for your interest in participating in this year's Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge. I'm Amy Jewitt. I'm the iMapInvasives coordinator for Pennsylvania. And this is the second year that I'll be hosting this event. So again, thanks everyone for being here. I'm going to go through the training. It's going to be about an hour. If you do have any questions as we go through, just speak up and we can answer your question. And there'll hopefully be a little bit of time at the very end to answer any questions that you might have. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. So the main purpose of the Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge is actually a few things. One, we want to be able to identify new water chestnut infestations that might be in Pennsylvania that we're not already aware of. I'm going to be able to discern those areas to then hopefully do some sort of treatment or continue to do treatment to hopefully control and eradicate this species, because it is a very big problem in our state as well as other states as well. And so ultimately, this event is basically a way to support efforts to detect the species, which we would consider a priority species in our state, and to hopefully either prevent or slow its spread from continuing to go much farther. And so it just is a way, the challenge is a way to help raise awareness of the harm that's caused by invasive species. And this is one of many, unfortunately, that we have to keep our eyes on and really do something about so that we can curb any that it might be causing. And using the iMapInvasives program is an easy way to be able to track data that's coming in from this challenge and to be able to disperse it out to the people that need to know where it is and what's going on. So it works. So it's you and your technology of choice. So you have a smartphone, a tablet, or if you just have access to a desktop computer, that's all you need. Definitely recommend, if you want to add data while you're out in the field, to use either a smartphone or a tablet, because it does make it really easy and quick. And what you're doing, you're searching specifically for water chestnut in the month of July. So anytime I go out and search for this stuff, and anything you find, whether you find presence information, so you found the species, or you didn't, so you find absence information, that is going to get recorded in iMap, and we're going to talk about how to do that. And the water chestnut is definitely a big problem in our state. It's not widespread yet at this point, so that's good. But it does cause harm to our native wildlife and their habitats, and it also hurts us as well by hindering some of the recreational activities that we like to do, like fishing and boat and swimming and those sorts of things. So it is a problem. So the reason why this is such a nice tool to use is once we have data in there telling us where it is, we can know the specific bodies where water chestnut has been found at. We can know the exact date that it was found, so you can basically understand how long an infestation has been there. And you can also know who found it and their affiliated organizations. So if you want to follow up with that person and ask more about their finding, you can do that because you know who the observer was. And to keep in mind that when you are looking at data in iMap, if you have some time to do that when you're entering information, is just because there's a report for water chestnut somewhere does not guarantee that that infestation still does exist there, because treatment may have happened. Maybe there is a lesser population, or maybe it's gone altogether. So just keep that in mind, that the point on the map is basically telling you that it was found at a certain location at a certain time, but it may or may not still actually be there. So has water chestnut been found so far? With iMap, we can know that it's been found in 7 counties. Most of the findings have been in the eastern part of the state, but we do have Warren County in the western part of the state as well. We know that it's been found there. And so there's a few other databases out there that track the locations of species, and 2 of those, Pennsylvania Flora and the Biota of North America program, have also found that it's been located in Wayne County in the upper right corner of our state. So it's also been detected there as well. Okay, so let's look at some of the infestations. What does this actually look like, and where are people finding it? So this is a screenshot of a finding in Montgomery County in Night Lake. This is a recent finding, and here we can see there's a bunch of different plants scattered throughout there. This is Bucks County in Neshaminy Creek, and here we can see that the person who made this finding found the nutlets associated with water chestnuts. So he didn't actually find the plant, but he found the seeds. And so this is basically another way to document that you did indeed find this species. This is County Lake Towhee. This is a really bad one, and we'll talk a little bit more about this particular location and the infestation there later in the training, but there has been efforts for many years now by the Bucks County Conservation District to do a water pooling effort, chestnut pooling effort, in order to hopefully eradicate this lake from this species. And so you can see why, because it basically looks like a lawn, like you could walk on top of this. There's an infestation up in Warren County on the Allegheny River near Meade Island. We can see that someone was there boating. They found a water chestnut plant there as they were going along on the river. Named water body in Luzerne County, where we can see they did find a water chestnut plant. And Reservoir is another location in Bucks County. Bucks County, for some reason, seems to be the hot spot for this species, but it is obviously in other locations as well. This is a really, really bad infestation. As you can see, it's covering a lot of the water surface there, and it's definitely something that we want to be able to do something about. This is why we're hosting this challenge, because we want to raise awareness of places like this that need treatment efforts now. So this was found a few years ago. It was documented again in last year's challenge, and hopefully we can get some boots on the ground to make sure that something like this can get treated as soon as possible. To know water chestnut a little bit better, what does this stuff look like? How do we identify it? It's referred to, the scientific name is Trappa natans, so you can call it that. You can call it water chestnut, same thing. A rooted aquatic plant, and you think of water chestnut, maybe it's something that you get in your Chinese takeout. This is a little bit different, but it is known to be found in ponds, lakes, and rivers, and it grows very thickly and very densely, and it can grow as much as 16 feet in length, so it can get to be pretty big if we let it. And I just want to give a shout out. The information that I'll be talking about as far as how to identify water chestnut comes from the Pennsylvania Field Guide to Aquatic Invasive Species, which is a really nice field guide that was done recently by Pennsylvania Sea Grant. So if you haven't seen this or you don't have a copy of it, I would recommend checking it out. You can see it digitally online. How to identify water chestnuts. So the leaves in particular. The leaves of the plant are both floating and submerged. And floating leaves are triangular. You can also think of them as a fan shape and have these toothed margins, so these like serrated edges almost on the edges of the leaves. And they're arranged in what we call a rosette formation. The leaf is pretty glossy, so it's shiny when you would see it. And then the underside, it has these little soft hairs on it. And the leaves are kept on the water surface by these little bladders, these little inflated bladders. As you can see, there's a photo of them there, attached to petioles. And that's what keeps the plant afloat. And so there's some kind of distinct things to look for when you're looking for this plant. It's a flower, a little white flower with 4 little portions of it there in the center of the rosette, and that usually appears in mid to late July. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we ask you to search for water chestnut in July, is because that flower is another way to identify this species. This, or seeds or nutlets as they're referred to, are something that is very unique to this species and something to also be very aware of and careful around. So very sharp. They can actually, if you would step on them, they could penetrate right through your shoe. Be careful as you're walking along the areas where you're searching for this. Please, if you do happen to see nutlets, please don't step on them. But they're black. They have 4 little projections on them. Again, that's a very clear indication that you probably have this plant somewhere nearby if you're finding the seeds. stems and the roots, as you can see sort of in the drawing there, they have very finely branched roots that are lower part of the stem. Those will be submersed, so you won't actually see those on the water surface. But if you pull the plant out, that's when you would see them. And that helps to anchor the plant in the substrate where it's living. We're going to find this species. We'll find it in a lot of places, depending on where you are. But it can grow in any freshwater setting, and it prefers nutrient-rich waters that are less than 16 feet deep. So it doesn't like incredibly deep waters, but a lot of places it certainly can habitate in. That would include things such as ponds, lakes, living streams, and even rivers. So there's a lot of places that you could look for this at. As far as it gets around, this is something that we as humans need to be very aware of because it's very easy for us to transport it unknowingly. I'll get to that in a second. So as far as its reproduction, it does produce those nuts like we talked about, and it produces up to 15 nuts per season per plant. These nuts can sink to the bottom of a water body, and unfortunately, it can remain viable for a very long time, up to 12 years, because say, you go out and you find water chestnut and you might pull it. If there's seeds around, it's something that you have to keep an eye on to make sure those plants don't keep coming back because they certainly could. It can also spread vegetatively if the leaves break apart and fragments attached to boats or trailers. If you're out recreating on the water, that's one way for it to get around. So, if you've ever seen the message about stop aquatic hitchhikers, clean your gear, clean, drain, dry, all of those things are talking about just basically being aware of what you are taking with you. If you are leaving a water body of some sort and going somewhere else, like if you have a boat and a trailer, a jet ski, anything like that, just make sure that you're checking to make sure you're not bringing any plant material with you because it's very easy to do. And something that we want to try to make more people aware of so we can help to stop the spread of these invasive species. So native to Europe, Asia, and Africa, but it's not native to North America. And so that's why it's one of the reasons why it's an invasive species here. It was brought to the United States by water gardeners in the 1800s, and after that, it quickly established, and it was first observed in Massachusetts. And since then, we have known that it exists in Maryland, New York, and Pennsylvania as well, and it might be in a few other states since that information was made available. Why do we care? What is this thing doing that's a problem? So it's doing a few things that we don't really like a lot. As far as impacting the native species and wildlife, it does create these dense floating mats that will essentially choke out a water body, which limits the light and the oxygen that are available to the species, both wildlife and to plants that are living there. The colonies can outcompete the native organisms for food and space, and they offer very little nutritional value to wildlife. So they're not helping. If they're eaten or consumed, it's not really helping the native wildlife at all. And then as people go, we like to be out in the water too. We like to swim and boat and fish. And if you remember that photo from Bradford Reservoir, you can't really do any of that on Bradford Reservoir right now. If you could, it's a drinking water body, but nonetheless, it really impedes any kind of recreation you might want to do. And so those are all the things that we need to think about as far as why this species is a problem. And its invasive qualities, water chestnut is still sold commercially, which is very hard to believe, but it's true. So this is just a quick message and a shout out to say, please don't purchase an invasive species. This and many others are still out there being commercially sold. A lot of people don't realize that they are considered invasive and they can cause these problems. So please help to educate others. Tell them don't purchase an invasive species. Do your homework ahead of time. Know what you're buying. Don't buy it just because it's beautiful or if it's cheap, it's the right price. These are things that we need to think about as far as landscaping our yards and our gardens and our water gardens. So I want some more information on how to find out if a species is considered native or if it's an invasive species. Some reliable resources I would recommend checking out would be iconservepa.org, which is available on the DCNR's website. Penn State Extension and Pennsylvania Sea Grant are some other organizations that also have some good information. So, and just be aware of what you're purchasing. Okay, so reporting your findings. So when you're out there looking for this species, if you do find it, and if you don't, we're going to talk about how you go about doing that. If you actually find water chestnut, you're going to be recording what we call presence information, and you're going to do that with an observation and an assessment record. And so you can use your mobile app on your phone or your tablet as well. Keep in mind that you can only record observation data on your mobile app. You cannot record assessment or survey information. And if you looked for water chestnut and you didn't find it, we also want to know that as well. So either way, you're going to be recording information. And if you're recording absence data, we want you to record a survey because that's going to allow you to record that negative data. And then the survey is something you can only do on a desktop computer, as is the same for the assessment. I just want to mention real quick, why are we reporting absence data? A lot of people might not think that if you go out and you don't find something, what's the purpose of recording that? So it's important because for a few reasons, actually. So at least for the purpose of this event, this challenge, is to know and to analyze all of the places that everyone who's participating actually went out and looked at. Because it's showing us that we have a lot of people that are engaged with this, that we're excited about going there and trying to find it, and so that's one reason. Another reason is if an infestation is found at a later time in a wadi that was originally looked at and reported as absence data, it's a nice way to be able to gauge maybe if that infestation is there recently and give a timeline as to how long it was there so that our natural resource professionals who are able to go out and do something about these infestations can kind of have a better understanding of how long that infestation has been there. So here's a few screenshots of what a survey record looks like in iMap, and all of these are indicating negative data, and this is from last year's Water Chestnut Challenge. So I just want to mention real quick, in order to actually utilize the iMap database, you do have to have a login account. So the way to do that is if you don't already have a login account, there's a few ways you can do it. If you go to iMapInvasives.org, there's a login button at the very top. If you choose Pennsylvania, from there you can say request a free account and you can get set up away. You go to iMapInvasives.org, and at the top of the page there's a register button, and that will also take you to the same place where you can request a login account. So just mind, you do need that account in order to do all the things we're talking about here today, as far as logging information in the for your findings, so observations, assessments, and surveys. You also need a login account to use the mobile app as well. And just to know, when you do request a login account, it doesn't happen instantaneously. The request comes to me, and then I fill it. So usually it takes about a day or so to get your account. So if you don't get something back right away, that's why. You will get it soon, though, so just keep that in mind. So the app, that is the main way that I'm encouraging most people to record your findings, your presence findings anyway, because you can't record negative data using the app. So here's how to use it. We're going to go through. So it's designed for both Android and Apple devices, and it's used on, we mentioned about the smartphones and the tablets. Keep that your device does have to have that GPS integrated into it already. So I learned recently that at least some tablets don't have GPS in them. So just keep that in mind, that if you have a device that doesn't have GPS, you will not be able to use the mobile app on that. Most devices do, though, as far as I know. You don't need an internet connection to actually use it, which, again, is nice because some of the places we go to, you're not going to have that. So you'd be here, you could be up on a mountaintop, and obviously for the Water Chestnut event, you're going to probably be near a water body. All of these places, you're not going to have the internet, and it doesn't matter because you don't need it. So feel free to use it wherever you are. How you actually are going to download and utilize the app or device. So just for your reference, all of these screenshots were taken from an Android smartphone. So if you have Android, this should look very similar. If you have an iPhone, this might look a little bit different. but it should basically be the same if you go and do this after this, today's training. So for the Android, you're going to go to the Play Store, start using the word iMapInvasives, and then follow the prompts to actually go and install the app. And when you're looking to see that you have the right app, just look at these screenshots coming up on your phone or your tablet as well, and you'll know you have the right app. To install it, before you actually start using it to record data, you want to set your preferences. And the way you do that is the menu in the upper left-hand corner. You choose that. Choose your default state, so that would be Pennsylvania, and your name, your first and your last name, and then fill in your login credentials. And again, that's going to be information that you get from me when you request a login account if you don't already have one, and fill that in. And just for reference, your username is typically the first 3 letters of your first name and all of your last name, all lowercase and no spaces. And the password, I will send that to you guys when you get your credentials. So moving on with your preferences, you'll want to select how you want to see the species list. And when you're actually recording information and choosing the species, there's a few ways that list will show up. So you can view by the common name only, scientific name only, or you can choose to view both, so common and scientific. So that's your preference. You can set that how you want. You can also choose to set a custom species list. And this is an optional item, but it is very helpful because right now we're tracking over 300 species. So if you would go to select the species that you found, you have to scroll through 300 species to find the one you want. So in order to save a little bit of time, you can create a custom list where you choose only the species that maybe you're working with most often, or those that you're only going to be recording data for. Chestnut event, since we're very specific about what species we're looking for, you can actually make a customized list to say, I only want water chestnut to show up in my species list. And then you're not scrolling through 300 species to find one you're looking for. You could add a few more to it. But just keep that in mind. It's a nice little time saver. You can use how your map appears, where it looks like the road view or the satellite view. Again, your preference, how it shows up. And that's basically it. Those are your preferences. So actually using the app, the next slides will show you how to go about doing that. So there'll be an icon on your phone or your tablet. So you want to click on that icon to open up the app. And the very first thing that the app is going to ask you to do is to take a photo of what you found. So there's a little button at the top that you can use to take a photo. It only allows you to take one photo that it can store at a time. But keep in mind that if you want to take multiple photos, just use the regular camera on your phone to do that. And then when you have an opportunity to log back into iMap on your desktop computer, you can then upload those extra photos at that time. But you can only store one photo on the app with each observation that you make. Another thing I like to point out as far as taking pictures, it's really important to take very distinguishing photographs. We want to make sure that the pictures we're taking aren't fuzzy. We want to make sure that we're not taking them from far away. We want to be able to look at these pictures that you're taking and easily distinguish that, yes, this is water chestnut. Here's the serrated edges of the leaves. Here's that flower that we were talking about. Here's the projections on the nutlet that we were looking at a little bit before. Taking photos from various angles, from an aerial view, from a side view. If you actually see the plane, you can pick it up and take it out of water and take a photo from the other side. These are all ways to make sure that we definitely are looking at water chestnut, because ultimately the photos that you take and the way that we confirm your records is by the photos that you take. So if we aren't able to make a species ID from your pictures, then we won't be able to confirm your records. So just make sure that you're taking really good pictures when you're there. Keeping going in the mobile app after you've taken a picture, the next things you want to do are to select the project name, and any data that you enter for this event is going to go under the project that's called Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge 2018. Make sure that you choose that. Choose species that you found, so of course that would be water chestnut. And if you want to utilize that custom list that we talked about, just make sure you check that box that says that, yes, I want to look at one species rather than 300. And they will automatically default to the current day, so you don't need to worry about filling that in. I just want to note really quick that if for some reason the project name, the Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge 2018, does not show up on your app, just go into your preferences and select the Update States Data button at the very bottom. And that should have it show up for you. So in case that happens, that's your fix to the issue. Okay, so your GPS in your mobile app will find where you are, and it will record that on the map, so you don't need to worry about navigating to the map at all. If you think that your GPS is a little bit off, you can uncheck the GPS box and manually move your point to another location if you need to. And also just keep in mind that if you are not connected to the internet, sometimes your phone will not show the map. It will be a blank screen. But that's okay. Your GPS is still functioning. It shouldn't have any issues marking your location. So whether you see your map or whether you don't, you're still okay. Your GPS is still functioning okay. Section at the bottom of your app for making comments. So you don't have to fill anything in here if you don't want to. But it is a way for you to add a little bit more information. So as far as like a location, you can say where you were at a specific part of a water body. Maybe there's a landmark nearby that is helpful to mention. Maybe you were with other people. You want to mention that as well. So you can use that however you like, but again, it's not required. And then we've done all that. You just want to go ahead and save your observation. So it's going to be on your main page of your app there on the home page. You can choose to upload it once you're back in an area where you have an internet connection. So once you're ready to do that, that you're in an area with Wi-Fi and you want to upload your records, all you do is you click the checkbox next to each of those observations, and then your main menu, you want to say Upload Selected. And from there, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to upload these records? And you say yes. And once you click the OK button, you should notice that those records will disappear. And that's a good thing. That means they have disappeared for app, and now they're actually in the iMapInvasives database. If you continue to see that those observations are living on your app, on your phone or your tablet still, that means that something didn't go right and they're still there. They did not upload correctly. So just go that same process again. Click the checkbox next to each observation, Upload Selected, and make sure that they disappear. If you have any issues with that, you can always feel free to reach out to me and we can see what might be going on. And just to mention, when you have an opportunity, go back into iMapInvasives on your desktop computer and return to that same record that you uploaded. And if you want to, you can add a few more pieces of information. And so you can add additional comments. You can talk about if you collected a specimen and did you deposit that specimen anywhere. You can talk about the directions you used to get to that location, any access issues. These are all things that you can add additionally that unfortunately the app doesn't capture right away for you, but you can add that at a later time. Once you do submit your observation data, what happens then? So basically, I go in, the IMAP administrator will go in and review your record and your photos. And if we're able to make a positive ID that, yes, this was indeed water chestnut, your record is going to be confirmed. But if there is any questions about your record, I will reach out to you and try to figure out whatever it is that we have questions on. You do your data in IMAP, you'll notice that the record will say unconfirmed up to the point that we confirm it. And that just means when it's labeled as unconfirmed is we just haven't taken a look at it yet. We haven't been able to make that positive ID just because of other things as far as capacity and other things that need to get done. So that's okay. Your record will remain unconfirmed until the administrator, probably me, has a chance to take a look at it. So we talked about how to enter observation data on your phone. I'm going to go through real quick how to do it on your desktop as well. It's very similar. The steps are pretty much the same as the app. It'll just look a little bit differently. So when you're logged into iMap, there's a section on the left-hand side of the home page that says Enter Data. And you go to that section, and you'll be able to go ahead and enter an observation record that way. So it's like the mobile app, we're going to be uploading pictures. This time you can load up to 5 right away. Make sure you include photos that have those distinguishing characteristics, very important. Mention the observer was, make sure documenting that it's part of the Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge 2018 project. What species you found, so again, probably water chestnut, the date you found it, and the location. And once you've put in that information, you just want to click Save or Submit, and that record will automatically go into the database, just like it did from the app. Again, just like we did with the app, you want to go back in and add any of those additional details or comments that you weren't able to add in that initial process for putting the observation data in. So again, any comments, directions, or access information, and if you collected a specimen, make sure you're adding that as well. If you have any questions or you want to refresh on how to enter an observation using your desktop computer, we do have a video that's available on YouTube. We also have it on the iMapInvasives.org website under our training tab. So you can go to either of those places and watch a video, and it will kind of refresh you on how to go about doing that. Okay, so in addition to when you're finding, if you do find water chestnut, in addition to actually creating an observation record, we also want to make sure we're creating an assessment record as well. So the two go hand in hand, and show you how to do that. But just as a quick information, the reason why we want to document an assessment record is more the point on a map. The assessment is going to show you the extent of an infestation. So how big is this area where you're finding water chestnut? And is it, some scattered plants? Is it really dense? All of that information you can capture very well in an assessment record. So that's why we want to make sure that we're capturing this information as well. So when you go to iMap, this is a screen that you'll see. And to begin entering an assessment record, you want to go to the section where it says View Table. And from there, type in your last name to bring up any records, any observation records that you've already created. And to do that, it will only bring up those records. So type in your last name, and they should show up no problem. So then from there, choose the record that you've already entered for water chestnut that you then want to create an assessment for. So click anywhere on that record, and it should open up. And when it does, your observation record opens up. Down in the record to the part where it says Related Records. And in that section, you'll see a button that says Enter an Assessment for this observation. So once you click on that, it should open up a new screen where you will see a map and a polygon that's already been drawn for you. So that polygon is what you want to reshape into the area where you made your observation, and now you're trying to depict the area that's infested. So there's drawing tools in the upper right corner of the map that you can utilize. So pan the map and zoom in and out as much as you need, and drag those vertices to create the polygon that you want to create. We've done the polygon portion of the record. You're not quite done yet. You have a little bit more information to add. So if you scroll down, you'll see a bunch of different fields. There's a field called Evaluation Type, and there you can choose from a few options of either initial assessment, pre-treatment, or post-treatment. So you can choose the one that is most appropriate. There's a disturbance category, so you can choose from human, natural, both, or none. There's a site disturbance severity category, so from there you can choose none, light, moderate, or heavy disturbance, whatever is most appropriate for the site you were at. The follow category, so there's a bunch of different responses there, so again, choose the one that's most appropriate. In this screen, I've chosen management candidates, so this area needs some management. Other fields, including evaluation type, disturbance, and assessment, and these are all different comment boxes that are asking for additional different types of information. So not required, but again, the more information you can add to your record, the more useful it will be. So an affected area section, and this is trying to get at the infestation size and how bad it is. So you can choose to either fill in the percent cover or the cover class. And if you choose one or the other, the other one will fill in automatically. So choose to fill either one of those. There's also a field for landscape type, and for that one we're going to choose water bodies since we are searching in aquatic situations in particular. Vegetation distribution field. Again, choose the most appropriate option. In this example, I've chosen that the subdominant is the option there for native vegetation distribution. Also, a section on invasive plant information, where you want to fill in details about plant distribution and plant maturity. Near the bottom of the record, there is also fields for invasive aquatic plant information, including water body type, substrate type, depth code, boating regulations, and any additional comments that you want to add. And that's pretty much it. So there is a few things there. Again, not everything is required, but try to fill in as much as you can. And once you've done all of that, make sure to hit the button at the bottom that says Update Assessment, and that's going to save your record for you. Okay, for most of the people that are participating in the event this year, a lot of us are going to be recording absence data, that negative information when we go out and we don't find water chestnut, which is good. So I want to make sure that we know how to do that. So in order to record absence data, you're going to record a survey. And here you want to do that. Again, back on the main page of iMapInvasives in the Enter Data section, you want to choose Survey. And the screen opens up. The first thing it's going to ask you for is what kind of survey do you want to enter. And so for this particular event, we're just going to choose Aquatic Simple as the type of survey to enter. Then a map is going to show up after you've chosen your survey type, and you want to zoom to the area where you want to draw your survey polygon. So you can use the zoom bar there on the left-hand side of the map, or you can also use the search bar to type in the name of the water body where you're interested in going. For example, I've chosen Lake Marburg in York County, and I'm going to zoom into that area. So again, those drawing tools that are in the upper right corner of the map, you want to draw your polygon around the area where you looked for water chestnut but you didn't find it, and then double-click to finish drawing your polygon. So here you can see I didn't look at the whole lake, I only looked at a section of it, and there's that area in particular drawn out with my polygon. Like the assessment, there's going to be a few data fields that we ask you to fill in. Everything highlighted in pink is going to be required, so you want to make sure you fill that in or you will not be able to save your record. So contact field, choose yourself as the lead contact. The project Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge 2018, make sure you're choosing that as well. The goal is going to be to find new infestations. Date is going to be your observation date. So what day you were there and you actually found that water, or you did not find the water chestnut, excuse me. Target species, everything is going to be in scientific names, so you need to, in this particular field, so you want to make sure you're looking for and choosing natans as your target species. And report that you didn't actually find it. To say that we're looking and entering absence information, you're going to say none detected in the detected species category. So we were looking for water chestnut, but we did not see it. Scroll down, there's going to be some other fields you can fill in. There's a general comments section, so you can put in any information there that you choose. The water body type, just choose the most appropriate option. So there's different options there. In this screenshot, I've chosen lake/pond. And then you can also fill in the water body name. There is a drop-down list there, and if you don't see the water body name in that drop-down list, you can always enter it in the field just below it. Information on how you conducted your survey. So you choose from top water, underwater, or dry land. The specific survey method, there's a few options you can choose from. So again, just choose the most appropriate option for how you did your survey. And then you're done. So again, make sure you're hitting that Update Main Survey button at the very bottom to save and capture your record. Not so much data, but back to the challenge again. What happens when the challenge is over? So the challenge runs from July 1st to July 31st. So at 31st, what's going to happen after that? So the challenge is over. I will be compiling and looking at all of the data that all of you who are participating will be giving to iMap, and I'm going to put together a data analysis. And that analysis is going to include information on any new water chestnut findings that we were able to detect somewhere in the state. It's also about any water bodies that will either require new or continued efforts as far as treatment goes. Again, we really want to make sure that we're getting the information out there that these water bodies are infested, and we want to do more than that. We want to make sure that we are getting boots on the ground to do something about these infestations. And then also going to be documenting all the places that, as far as we can see, are free of water chestnuts. So that absence information is going to be documented as well. Analysis will then get sent out to all of you who are participating, and also relevant natural resource professionals from all over Pennsylvania who will hopefully be able to help to do something about these infestations. And so again, information, when we have this data, it can really help in prioritizing future survey and treatment efforts to do some control and eradication efforts. So in mind, the data entry deadline to put in both your presence and your absence information is going to be August 15th. So you have the whole month of July to be looking for data, and you have until the 15th of August to actually enter it into iMap. A really fun part to this challenge, whoever enters the most data into iMap will be winner of the Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge, and that winner will be announced on August 31st, and they receive a grand prize package. And that grand prize package includes all the things you see here. It'll be a Nalgene bottle, a ball cap, an REI gift card, a beach towel, and a dry bag. And these are all things that are hopefully usable to use while you're out recreating on the water and enjoying yourself. So again, keep in mind that there is a prize at the end of all of this. So try to be the one to enter the most information, and you will be the winner. So there is an extra challenge on top of the challenge in front of you. When you're out looking for water chestnut, keep your eyes peeled for other invaders that are out there, other aquatic invaders, because water chestnut, unfortunately, is not the only one that we have to worry about. So I just want to show you some quick slides and pictures of some of these other species just to keep your eyes peeled for. European frogbit is one, kind of looks like a little lily pad, sort of. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There's flowering rush. That one you usually see in more wetland areas. It does look like its feet wet, so you won't really see it in dry land, but certainly near water bodies. This is a species that actually just became a noxious weed in Pennsylvania. It was federal noxious weed, and now it is also a state noxious weed. This is one that if you do find, we really would love to have any reports to iMap so we can make sure we know where this species is being found. Curly pondweed is another one. The leaves on it are pretty distinct. They have sort of a wave to them. So that kind of helps as far as identification goes for this species. Brilliant Elodea is another one. Kind of looks a little bit similar to hydrilla, but they are different. Both are invasive, so keep your eyes peeled for those. Parrot feather and Eurasian water milfoil are some other species that look a little bit similar. They are different. Keep your eyes peeled for those as well. Floating heart and yellow iris, two species that even though they look very pretty, they are indeed invasive species, and so these are ones we want to see out there. But again, if you find them, make sure that you're reporting them. Emo is kind of a unique one. This is one you're going to see below the water surface. It'll be on the surface of rocks and the substrate of the water. So keep your eyes peeled for that one as well. Variable leaf milfoil and mud mat are some other species just to keep your eyes peeled for. Purple lace, this is one that a lot of times people purposely plant because it is very, very pretty. But this is one that it is another invasive species, and it's one that we don't want to have. So this, again, is found in more wetland areas So if you're in those type of places, make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for purple loosestrife. And nearleaf cattail is another one. That's another invasive species that we don't want. Lastly, before I wrap up, I want to give a shout out to an event that's happening this in July as far as how to stay active and participate in a water chestnut pooling event that's happening. So I mentioned about Lake Towhee before. For several years now, there's been a water chestnut pooling event that's happening there in Bucks County. It's always a 3-day event, so this year it's happening on July 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's a Tuesday and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. each day, and you can choose to go and participate, bring your boat, and bring a lot of energy. You'll be out on the water and this pooling water chestnut out of the lake to try to get rid of it. You can choose to participate one day, or you can choose to participate for all 3. But anyway, lunch, gloves, and trash bags are provided for you, so you can help with this event. And there is a registration available if you go to volunteermatch.org. You can volunteer for this event. It's called 2018 Paddle with a Purpose, Lake Towhee Water Chestnut Removal. And Megan Rogales, who I believe is on call today, she is actually the one who coordinates this effort. And so I'm sure that she would appreciate anyone who's able to help out with this event. And that is all I have. I'm going to open it up to any questions that people have. And I do also just want to mention that this webinar was recorded, and I will post this on the PA iMapInvasives website. So if you'd like to revisit this training later, you're certainly able to do that. I will send out a link so you know how to get to it. Is there any questions that anyone has? I would say that you could certainly pool it. Wouldn't be a bad thing. But just make sure that you're marking where you found it as well. That way we know. And then maybe you could add a note in your record that says you pooled the plant.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions that folks have?
Repeat that question. I didn't hear what you answered.
Sure. So the question was, if you are in a place where you find water chestnut, should you pool it? So I said yes, please do. And just mark in your observation record that that was the case, that you found it and you pooled it.
Thanks.
Sure. Okay. Well, if anyone has any questions, I'm always around. You can reach me by phone or email. My contact information is here on the screen in front of you, so you can always feel free to reach out to me. And then I'll be posting a recording of this training for you guys to access later on. Keep in mind that the challenge begins July 1st, ends July 31st. The data entry deadline is going to be August 15th, and the winner challenge will be announced at the end of August. So thank you, everybody, for participating, and we'll be talking with you soon.